Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
Hey, I am one of those co-hosts. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam.
And let's get
screaming.
Sam. What do we got planned for this episode this week? We got a fun one going on.
We really do. We have a very fun double feature. Each one of these movies was a first-time watch for one of us. It was a very co-picked double feature. You picked one,
Yes.
I picked one. And yeah, we've got some fun news to announce. I have a lot that I have been doing. And you have a few things that you've been doing. We have one thing that we did together.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that. But yeah.
We got a lot of things going on in this episode, and we'll talk about them here. I mean, if you guys listen to our show, you know how this works. It's gonna be a long one, so sit back, relax. Yep. maybe just maybe, if you're lucky enough, it's raining outside.
Yeah,
it's pouring rain. There's nothing else you can do. There's nothing better that you want to do besides sit inside and either watch some spooky movies, or you can sit inside with us inside the basement and listen to us talk about some movies that take place during a rainstorm. That's the theme of this episode right here, because we're talking 1932's The Old Dark House and 2003's Identity. Why the hell are we talking about these two movies together as a double feature? Well, they both are pretty similar in terms of the setup of these movies. Both of these movies take place in remote locations during a rainstorm where a group of strangers come together and either murder or mystery happens. Or both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's definitely murder and mystery in both of these.
Yes.
It's pretty rad. This is one. So Casey, for as long as we have been podcasting together, you have rode hard for The Old Dark House.
Yep.
In fact, I'm pretty sure on like the first podcast that we ever did together, you said, and I quote, "I ride hard for The Old Dark House."
I ride hard for The Old Dark House. Yeah. I should make that into a t-shirt or something.
You should. Actually,
and then it's just Carlos. It's just Carlos' face as Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So The Old Dark House, directed by James Whale. I had never seen this before. You were talking about rainy day movies, rainy day horror, and it instantly brought me back to a movie that I watched when I was like 10 years old, and it left a very big impression. James Mangold's Identity.
It's also a James double feature. We got the Mangold and the Whale together.
Yeah, it is. It's a rainy James.
Rainy James. Shout out to all the James out there.
Yeah.
This one's for you.
This one's for you. The wands and the guns and the other Jameses.
Whales and Mangolds.
And Mangolds. Yep, and there we go. Lost my train of thought already.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
5 minutes into the episode.
I'm sorry. That one's on me. I had a shout out to the Jameses. I had to give a shout out to them. Well, let's jump into it. So let's jump into like you said, this is rainy day movies, and so Identity was one you brought up, and I was like, I've never even heard of this movie before. Somehow it just completely was not on my radar at all. I looked up all I knew about this movie, and we'll get into it when we get into that movie. Was basically I saw the director, the cast, and just that it was a group of strangers during a rainstorm end up at the same location. Didn't know anything else about this movie. Knew that John Cusack was in it. That was about it.
Yep.
And I was sold. I was sold. I am too. I love. Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll jump into that one in a second. We'll go in chronological order here. We'll take things back to 1932, almost 100 years ago, to talk about James Whale's The Old Dark House. You may recognize that name because James Whale he's the godfather of horror directors, really.
Yeah.
He's the OG. He's the one that I think.
I mean,
He's
it's not even hyperbole to say like he kind of invented the modern horror movie.
He did. He brought us out of that silent era and into the modern age, and was just revolutionary in that. Where looking at it now, still his movies are like, these still not only hold up today, but are still revolutionary and transgressive, and just really just genre and boundary pushing in every way. And you may recognize the name from, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man from his work on the Universal Monster movies, and The Old Dark House as well, because this is a Universal movie. Not technically a Universal Monster movie, but it
shares a lot of DNA.
Shares so much DNA. I think it's like the lost Universal Monster movie.
It kind of is.
Not many people talk about this movie. Even in James Whale's filmography, they always bring up the two Frankensteins and Invisible Man as his like big three. I think this is right on par with them. Maybe better than some of them. I don't know. I think they're all kind of masterpieces in their own right. But again, James Whale teaming up with Boris Karloff for this movie. So again, another huge name in horror as the two team up. What was your, before we get into the nitty gritty details of the movie, I guess I can get into them now, and then we'll get to your thoughts here. But written by Ben W. Levy, directed by James Whale, and again, like we said, the plot is, it's going to sound similar when we talk about this in Identity. This one's during a rainstorm, a group of strangers stumble upon an old dark house. It's inhabited by a very strange family, including a monstrous drunk butler, Morgan, played by Boris Karloff, and there's soon a mystery to be had in terms of, hey, there's more than two people in this family. There might be a really old lady upstairs, and maybe someone crazier than Morgan in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Sam, initial thoughts. Old Dark House. What did you know going in, and what was your thoughts leaving the movie?
So I basically knew that another James Whale, Boris Karloff collaboration, and that it was kind of considered like one of his lost movies until it was like restored. I mean, not just decades ago, honestly.
Like the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
Late 90s, early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah, which is insane because this movie, you can see its fingerprints all over modern horror. All over modern horror. I loved this. I really enjoyed this. I think this is maybe not quite for me on the level of like Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, but it sits right there with The Invisible Man. It's just like a really solid piece of James Whale's work.
Yeah.
And I was just genuinely surprised at how modern it seems.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have told me that this was made in like 2012 by a Brooklyn hipster who was just trying to like take 1932 aesthetic, I would have believed you. Like if you said Robert Eggers directed this movie 3 years ago, I'd been like, yeah. Because like it's definitely classic, but it brings like, it feels so modern somehow.
Yeah. If you put this and The Lighthouse together in a double feature and you didn't know any of the actors in it, you'd be like, yeah, these came out right around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. So suffice to say, I did. I really enjoyed The Old Dark House. I'm glad I finally watched it. So.
Yeah, when I stumbled upon this, I don't know, maybe 2019, maybe 5 years ago on Shudder. And again, I stumbled upon it because I saw like the image of it, The Old Dark House, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Clicked on it, looked up more information on it. I was like, James Whale, Boris Karloff, black and white during a rainstorm. This is just my vibe. I'm going to click on it and watch it. And yeah, immediately fell in love. This is my fourth time watching this movie. I just fall in love over and over again every time I watch it. And again, it's one of those movies that if you watch it during a rainstorm, it's like it doesn't get better than that because you're just completely immersed into the movie. That's one of the biggest things that stands out to me while watching it is that the sound design of this movie is also very, it's very of its time, but also very much of like modern day filmmaking, or at least James Whale's voice is in it because there's rain and wind constantly throughout this entire movie. You just hear it throughout the entire 70-minute runtime of this movie. You just know that it's getting worse and worse and worse outside because of that sound design.
Which is incredible considering like what that process was back then, where it was all just one track that you had to basically be recording simultaneously.
Well, you look at, again, the year before is 1931, the kickoff to Universal Monsters with Dracula and Frankenstein.
Yep.
Frankenstein was already, I mean, Whale knew what he was doing there. But again, like, Dracula has no score.
Right.
It's a very, very, it's not a silent movie because there's dialogue, but it's as close as you can get to a silent movie with dialogue.
It's a stage play with a camera in front of it, and it's an entertaining stage play, but it's not cinematic in the way that Whale's Frankenstein was.
Yeah, even this movie too, it's just so cinematic because again, that sound design, you're overwhelmed with the sound of wind and rain the entire time. And again, the movie opens during that rainstorm. And you have some of our main characters who are driving through it. And again, talk about like being ahead of its time. The dialogue in this opening scene alone, they're just like giving like Marvel type quips back to each other, like literally just busting each other's balls for the first, 5-8 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, you don't hear this kind of dialogue in 1932.
No,
it feels so ahead of its time.
That was like immediately what struck me. It was like, especially Melvin Douglas as Penderel.
So good in this movie.
Like he's so incredible in this movie. And right from the get-go, him kicked up in the back seat, I'm like, that's a modern movie character. Like that is.
He's Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
He is.
That's what his character is in this movie.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know. It surprises me because it's not at all a dry movie in any way. And
literally.
Right. And it's just, it just has so much like spice and character in all of these different interactions between characters that I just don't feel like you typically saw in movies back then, even of like the Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. Well, okay, Bride of Frankenstein. No, that's like a masterpiece. That nothing has been done to.
This one's closer in terms of characters. This one's closer to Bride of Frankenstein than Frankenstein is.
I agree with that. Yeah,
because it's like I would say there's only one character that I'm like, I don't know what your role is besides love interest, and that's Philip Waverton, the guy that's in the relationship with
Margaret.
With Margaret, who's like, she's the damsel in distress. She's the character the monster's lusting after. This is something you see in every Universal monster movie. That's why I think this is kind of the lost version of that. But like. Again, you look at Pendrell, Melvin Douglas in this movie. He's just like a suave, funny, smart, intellectual man.
Yeah.
And he has so much character to him. And then you get introduced once they get to the house. They end up, during this rainstorm, they end up at this old dark house. And then you get other characters that end up there as well. Charles Laughton, who I just love him in this movie.
He's really good.
Porterhouse, he plays like a 30s like tycoon. That's basically what he is in this movie. And again, you get Gladys, who's like his best friend.
Yeah. Well, at first it's almost like they make it seem romantic a little bit.
Well, they say no. They say outright that they're friends.
Oh, that's right. They're friends.
And again, it's like 1932. A guy and a woman are not traveling together unless they are more than friends.
Right. Yeah.
And she even, we're jumping ahead, but again. She says later on, like, yeah, he's very gay. And I know they mean like happy
Yes.
that, but I'm like, no, he's gay. Like,
But I 100% think that they were
that's what
doing
Whale is
that. Like
inferring.
that's yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
100% like this movie is so unapologetically queer.
Yeah.
That the fact that it came out in 1932, I'm like, they let him make another movie after this? Like, that's insane to me that he just got away with not subtext, but just outright text in this.
Yeah.
You know? This whole movie, and to this extent, he literally
have you ever watched Gods and Monsters? The movie that's about James Whale?
The one with Ian McKellen, right?
Yeah.
I have not seen that one yet.
Yeah, definitely check it out. You would love it because he's
okay.
I mean, he was an outright gay man in Hollywood during the time.
Oh yeah. Like
and
I know yeah.
Yeah, and just that didn't happen, but again, I just love that this early, Laemmle version of the Universal Monsters, the Laemmle, was it Carl Laemmle?
Yeah, Carl Laemmle.
Yeah, and they were just like, no, you're a great filmmaker. Just go make these movies because you're gonna make us a bunch of money.
Yeah,
like let's just let you do you with these. And I Whale's voice is so distinct, and I think it's very distinct in this movie as well. I don't know if it has like the iconic imagery like Frankenstein or Invisible Man does,
right?
But I also think other characters in here stand out more so. Your human characters stand out.
Yeah,
this and they is all have a ton of fun. I think there's these also like a staple of Bride of Frankenstein. You get sorry, what's his name?
Ernest Thesiger.
Yep, Horace in this movie. Who's like, I don't know, there's so much mystery to this guy. You're like,
yeah,
why are you acting so weird?
He's like,
because he's like, you guys can't stay here. Like, no matter what, you guys gotta leave. And it's like, okay, but why? Like, why? It's just you and your sister and this drunk butler, and he seems okay right now. Well, later Morgan Karloff gets really drunk, and then we again, there's so much like underlying mystery to Horace, where he's like, he knows something's wrong. He's kind of trying to protect them, but also like he's a little bit of like the harbinger of doom in this movie too.
Yeah, he's really flip-floppy too. Like he has these moments where he stands up to his sister, who's definitely more assertive than he is.
Yeah.
But then like immediately he's back to quivering, like Horace is a complex guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Horace even knows what he wants.
No.
I think he's always thinking about what his sister Rebecca wants. Did you, speaking of Karloff as the butler, have you ever seen this with the like disclaimer in front of it? The Boris Karloff disclaimer? So I was researching this because I saw it pop up on IMDb in like crazy credits. It wasn't on did you watch this on Tubi or do you have this?
I don't own this. No. I watched the restored version. Yeah. Tubi.
Okay. Yep. So that's what I watched. The restored version must have taken this out because I saw this and I went to YouTube and found an older rip that was lower quality, but it has this title card that's like disclaimer about Boris Karloff. I will try and find it quick on IMDb here. It's really cool, actually. It's basically talking about Karloff also being Frankenstein. And yeah, producer's note. Karloff, the mad butler in this production, is the same Karloff who created the part of the mechanical monster in Frankenstein. We explain this to settle all disputes in advance, even though such disputes are a tribute to his great versatility. How cool is that?
That's so cool.
That's like his second movie with them, and they're like, yeah, this guy's great.
Yeah. Well, I also just love, like, in the first movie, not the first movie. In Frankenstein, there's just a question mark. like behind
Right.
the monster. This is, again, looking up some trivia on this movie. This is the first time Karloff himself is credited as in the starring role. And again,
Right.
at this time though, it's also always like just Karloff, just that name alone. Not even Boris
Yeah.
Karloff. It's just Karloff. I just love that so much. And
It's
again,
cool.
he gets his credit, and obviously now is known as one of the greatest names in horror history. And yeah, it's just super cool that you have credits like that where they're like, yeah, you're gonna love this guy because he was the monster in Frankenstein. Now he's playing a different type of monster in this movie.
Yep.
And again, I don't think he's not given enough to do. Maybe that's my biggest strike against the old Dark House,
Yeah.
is that there's not enough for Karloff to do, because you even look at the first Frankenstein where it's like, oh, he's playing a bumbling monster, but it's like, no, there's something underneath him that entire time.
This
Here
is just pure psychopath.
he's just a drunk asshole in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who gets like ragingly drunk really fast. Like there's a part where he just like punches through a window. It's
He
so
punches
funny.
the window.
And like makes like a grunting face and then goes and sits back down at the table and takes another swig.
Like he doesn't even do it. Like the who is it? Is it Gladys? The chorus girl who
Yeah.
he punches? Yeah, because she's going out to the stables to meet Pendrell. Yeah, she is so funny. Because like, yeah, he punches through the window, and I thought, oh, he's gonna like grab her, but he doesn't even like really make a swipe at her. She just screams and runs away, and then he stumbles back to the couch and keeps drinking.
Like it's just that I think he's like just pissed that they're there.
Yeah. He's just like, more people to look after.
Like,
great.
He's like, I gotta feed all of you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I slaved over these potatoes for hours. Now I got to make more because you and your not boyfriend show up. I'm gonna get pissed drunk in the kitchen and then smash a window.
Not to mention, like, Charles Laughton is loud and obnoxious in this movie.
So when he shows up, he like just makes himself at home right away. Like doesn't even ask if I can come in. Just, oh man, it's a doozy out there, and just like takes off his coat and starts shaking it around. And oh, you guys are eating. Don't mind if I join.
Yeah,
it's like, were you invited?
It's so funny, but it's also at the same time, like at that point in the movie, I'm like, nah, I side with the old people. Get out.
Yeah. It's like, we helped some people already. They were nice. They asked if they could come in. Who are you?
Oh man. Yeah, no, Charles Laughton's so funny in this, but it's just
really
because
funny.
he is such an obnoxious ass throughout the whole thing, you know? But I really liked him and Gladys's relationship, but like the scene in the stable between Lillian Bond and Melvin Douglas, where they're just like sitting in the back smoking and drinking out of his little flask that he has in the car. Yeah. This like such a cool scene, and it's like there's no dread or tension or anything in that scene, and it might be my favorite scene of the whole movie. Well, just because those two have like such good chemistry.
They have great like character relationships to each other. Gives a little bit of backstory to both of them. This movie has like the fastest engagement of all time, but it works for this movie because of that scene alone.
Yeah,
where it's like, yeah, you kind of feel like, I don't know, these two souls like see this as a bit of destiny of like, hey, we both ended up at this place at the same time. We have a connection. Like, let's see where this goes. Well, for them, they're like, let's just get married right away. We don't need to see where this goes. We know where it's going. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just it is fast, but for whatever reason, just because of the chemistry between the two of them, you buy it.
Yeah.
Like it's not so, well, it is so fast that you're like, hold up, what? But it's also just kind of a, you know what? Yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. You two kids have fun, like I don't know. They're like 90 or older now.
They're
So
dead now.
yeah, I kind of figured. I just didn't want to be morbid about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, some of these people you might recognize. I'm just going to throw out one little piece of trivia just because we're kind of talking about the age of some of these actors. Gloria Stewart, who
Yeah.
plays Margaret. Do you know her from anything?
Wait a minute. Oh my God. Okay, so I had her IMDb pulled. Well, like I have the cast list pulled up on IMDb, and I'm looking at her going, "Oh, I've seen her in something recent. She's the grandma in Wedding Crashers, isn't she?"
Oh, I don't. No, I don't know if she is, but she's older Rose in Titanic.
Oh no, that's who I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't think
Never
it's Wedding
mind.
Crash.
No, it's not Wedding Crashers.
No,
The picture was small. Sorry, folks.
no,
It-
she's
yep,
older Rose in Titanic.
she's old Rose. Oh yeah, she's also Flora in The Invisible Man.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Whale. That's I also love about Whale. Just kind of keeps these group of people all together.
Yeah, like it's so funny. I feel like you look at like Whale's career, or just not even his career, but these four movies, and you see not just like the evolution of modern horror, but you also see practices that are still very much used in filmmaking today, like directors having a stable of actors that they just like working with and things like that. You know, like you have the Flanagan people that always come back,
Yeah,
and you have like directors will sometimes have like almost this little cache of actors that you can just expect to pop up in their movies. And most of the time that's really prevalent in genre films. I just think that's so cool. Like his just this four picture run with Universal just on its own did so much for genre cinema. Like it just can't even be overstated, you know?
yeah, and again, yeah, everyone does so well in playing their parts and knowing their roles. And again, I've heard of ego being involved with Karloff in
Yeah.
these movies. Apparently, him and Whale did not get along during the Old Dark House and did not talk to each other after that. I don't believe that because they went on to make Bride of
Bride of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, and then I kind of doubt that they did not talk to each other as a lead actor and a director. But who
Yeah.
knows? That could just be Hollywood lore of hey, these two hated each other. Yeah, they might have, but they still had to talk to each other at some point.
I mean, they still had tabloids back then. Everything gets spun out of proportion, you
Yeah,
know?
they worked the sheets. That's what they did. Karloff
Yeah.
and Whale, they worked the sheets.
Controversy sells, you know?
Yep. But yeah, this again. Speaking of things moving fast in this movie, I think there's one thing that I mean, there's a twist in this movie, which I think is pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. Of like, you kind of just expect Morgan to be the big,
The
I
big
guess
bad.
the big bad, like the antagonist of this movie. But then you find out that there's there's 100-year-old, 102-year-old woman upstairs, and she basically says, "Oh no, there's more people in this house."
Oh no. That's Roderick. That is a woman playing Roderick, but it is a male character.
Oh yeah, but
It's
since they say there's
it's
another person up there,
yes, they do. They do.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that would be Saul, the pyromaniac.
yeah, Saul, who's just a crazed madman in this movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the Old Dark House. We're getting into spoiler territory.
Oh my God, we spoiled a
100-year-old movie.
90 at least yeah. God. Oh my
Almost
God.
100-year-old movie. Yeah. But yeah,
You could have told
Saul,
me it
who's
was
basically the reason why like this family's been acting so weird, and they're like, you can't really stay here, is that Saul lives there, and like just,
he's like behind a locked door that has like three
Yeah.
barred locks on it.
yeah. And then they're like, yeah, he's killed like members of our family before. Old Saul, this is what he does.
If you let him out, he'll burn the house down.
He'll try to burn the house down.
He's a
Yeah.
rascal, you know?
Old Saul. But yeah, guess what happens? He gets out because Morgan is a drunk asshole and just lets him out. And what does he want to do? He wants to burn the house.
He's the scene between him and Melvin Douglas, where Melvin Douglas is trying to like just keep him directed away from the closet where the ladies are
Yeah,
hiding. It's
a great
so much
scene. It's
fun.
so
It's
much fun.
incredible. This movie clocks in at a brisk like 72 minutes.
Hmm.
And honestly, it flies by like it almost feels like a short film just because of how like quickly it flies by. And I don't mean that as like it doesn't feel fully fleshed out because this movie is a ride. And like that scene at the end, it's just it's kind of James Whale doing what he does best, letting two actors just camp it up
Yeah.
in like these wild performances with these big grand like gothic sets. I don't know, there's something about that aesthetic of his that just I don't know. I don't think we get I don't think we get Hitchcock without Whale. I don't think we get Flanagan without Whale. I don't think we get John Carpenter without Whale. You
Yeah.
know, like God, it's just an insane movie. It's an insane movie.
Insane movie from a filmmaker who knew exactly what he was trying to do. He feels so confident in these movies. This
Yep.
one is no exception to that because he's just so confident in what he's trying to portray in this. And again, 72 minutes. It's a short feature length movie by all standards, but again, doesn't feel like it drags any longer than it needs to. It tells the story that it's setting out to tell. But again, everything does feel fleshed out. It might be a little rushed because we only get a certain amount of time, but it still feels like everything is at least fleshed out for us as the audience to buy into. And again, it ends with the engagement and
Yes.
a happy ending. And that's, every Universal Monster movie has that ending, but this one feels like the most genuine
Yeah.
and the most like, yeah, go you two. Good for you.
It's so funny because I feel like in two movies, basically, with Bride of Frankenstein, James Whale is like that happy married couple. No, marriage is a sham. Like he is like so anti-marriage by that movie. It feels like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just it's crazy. Just watching like I don't know. We should just do a whole James Whale episode because I feel like that's what I want this conversation
Yeah.
to turn into. Yeah, like the happy ending is great. It's a little like the main couple that we're introduced to in the car, they like leave to get an ambulance, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And so it's just like
they're not the main characters, which I find
yeah.
so interesting. Like it's set up like that couple should be the main characters.
And then they're the like boring characters.
Yeah.
Like they're nothing. I don't think we've even mentioned their little side plot because all it is discovering things, but then it's the other people that are reacting to them.
Yeah.
They just like run back downstairs and tell someone, and then it's like, oh, this is happening. Someone else do something.
Yeah. More interesting characters jump in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, by the end of this movie, it's the three like side characters, even though Melvin Douglas gets top billing with Karloff, as he should. I don't know. The whole structure of this movie is fascinating to me. I just from a first time watch, I've been sitting on this thinking about it, and I watched it like a few days ago. And I kind of can't wait for a second watch just to see, I don't know, just to see what else I can pick up on, because there's definitely like a queer reading of this and like entire movie. The family name is literally Femme, and the patriarch of this family is a woman in drag. Like that's, I don't know. There's just something fascinating about this movie that I'm just going to be sitting there chewing on for like years to come, probably.
Yeah. I have two quotes I want to throw out there that every time I watch it, they just, I don't know, make me laugh, make me smile. Yes. They come from Ernest Thesiger. When they're having dinner, it's just, I can't do his voice, but it's like, I like gin. Just the way he says, "I like gin," and then every person at the table, he's like, "Here, have a potato."
The
Have a
potatoes are
potato.
great.
Yeah.
He's just offering potatoes left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His favorite meal, potatoes.
He likes potatoes.
Yeah. Gin and potatoes.
Oh
All
my
right,
god.
Sam, what would you give the Old Dark House out of 5 Old Dark Houses?
I'd give it 4 out of 5 old dark houses.
Yeah.
It is, and that honestly could go up with revisits. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Not quite to me on the level of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, but James Whale doesn't miss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what would you give this, Casey?
Again, 4 out of 5. I feel like every time I watch this movie, it goes up just a little bit more. I fall a little bit more in love with this movie every single time I watch it. And yeah, again,
Yep.
I think it fits right up there alongside Bride and Frankenstein and Invisible Man. And it's one that I think more people need to check out. I think it is seeing a little bit of a resurgence in the last couple years with it being available on streaming and Shudder especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely high recommends from both of us if people have not checked it out. All right,
Absolutely.
well, let's take a trip 71 years later to the year 2003. Sam, what was going on in 2003?
In 2003, I was going to some of my first sleepovers. I was about 10 years old, and it was cool to go over to your friends' houses, your friends that had parents that would let them rent rated R movies, and have slumber parties and watch rated R scary movies. And one of the first scary movies that made an impression on me was Identity from 2003. Casey, this is your first time watching Identity.
Yes.
You previously to this episode didn't even really know anything about it.
Correct.
What did you initial thoughts on what you thought of Identity?
Initial thoughts are a couple. Again, I think we should just throw out our spoiler warning right now.
Yes, we are going to be spoiling this whole movie.
Because there's not really a way you can talk about this movie without spoiling it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen Identity from 2003, stop what you're doing. Go watch it, because I think it's suffice to say we both liked it, right, Casey?
Yeah.
Yeah. We both recommend it. Go watch it, then come back, finish this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So having that out there, this was 100% my vibe of movie. Again, where it's strangers in this place during a rainstorm, murder mystery happens. I just love that stuff. I love it so much. Even the opening of this movie where you have the credits in your head, Alfred Molina, who's just like digging through newspaper articles and documents and court cases and looking at pictures, and you kind of have it cut with a voiceover over the credits talking about this person who's basically on death row. And that feels so 2003, and I just love that, just the opening vibe of that. And again, I love John Cusack as a leading man, where he's just kind of playing an everyman. I think him in these type of like mystery type films, he is so perfect for. But yeah, this has such a huge cast. Everyone is great in it. It doesn't overstay its welcome at all. It's a breezy 90-minute movie, which I was kind of shocked when I clicked play on. I was like, this is only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yes, thank you. That's the perfect runtime for a movie like this.
Casey, you know me. I don't recommend movies that are over 90 minutes.
But again, I just kind of figured, like, with a movie like with this cast and plot, I was like, this has got to be close to a 2-hour-long movie.
Yeah, you would think that, but it gets the job done in a tight 90, and it only loses its footing a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, and that's my biggest. I don't hate the ending, but I'm also like, I like everything else a lot more.
I get that. The first time I watched this movie, I was 10 years old. I had never seen anything even remotely like this before. So this ending blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was like, I was just like, what? Like I'd never even heard of, spoiler alert already, maybe, right? We've already given
We're in
spoiler alert.
spoiler territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd never even heard of dissociative identity disorder before. Like it was just like one of those things that like this movie was that door that opened for me where I was like, oh my God, that's a thing. And like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this movie left a mark, dude.
Yeah.
Also, you don't get over seeing a head in a dryer.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
That part really fucked me up.
Yeah, this is not a movie for 10-year-olds to watch.
No. Whoever let us rent this, I don't even remember what friend it was. I just remember like watching this and being just mortified, but also just in awe of
Fascinated.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, Identity 2003, directed by James Mangold,
Yeah.
which you may know him from. I mean, he's made a bunch of movies. He's a
I mean,
he's your dad's favorite filmmaker, James Mangold.
yeah. Yeah. God, James Mangold is a little bit like he's a little bit like a Rob Reiner, where it's like he doesn't really do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, he made like Logan and made this and he did
like
Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
he did
Walk the Line, the Johnny
yeah,
Cash movie.
Yeah. He did 3:10 to Yuma, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Oh, that's a good like he has all and the new Indiana Jones movie. So he's just all over the place, like filmography wise. But yeah, he just I love James Mangold because regardless of whether or not I love the movie, which usually with him I do, like I know I'm going to get something that is like a good looking film or a technically proficient film. That's not exactly what I mean, but you know what I mean? Like he just has a solid quality to his directing where it's just like, I know that I'm going to get something decent, you know?
Yeah. He's a very like, you're not going to get a bad movie, but you're going to get something completely different than what he's done previously.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just kind of just like a journeyman director where I don't even know if maybe that's the right word for it either. I don't know.
Yeah, he's just
such an interesting filmmaker. Yeah.
Yeah. He's great. And when he dabbles in stuff like this, that's maybe a little more like horror oriented, I kind of love it, you know?
One thing I found very interesting as we continue here, writer is Michael Cooney, who is also the writer and director of Jack Frost, the Killer Snowman movie.
The killer
not the Michael Keaton Dead Dad movie.
You always have to clarify that with me because my default is the Michael Keaton one.
Is the dead Michael Keaton movie.
Yeah.
No. This one's the Killer Snowman movie. He wrote and directed that and then wrote Identity.
I mean, all right. Yeah, I guess, you know what? I could see that.
I can kind of see it, yeah.
I could definitely see that. Because this movie is very 2003. I watched this on my special edition DVD that I picked up from Last Stop. Thank you, Last Stop CD Shop. And the trailer to this is the most like, the digital like roaring up to the like hotel and then it's like just rain and lightning and the hotel lights flicker or the motel lights flickering.
The voiceover is probably like 10 strangers.
Yeah. It's insane, man. We popped the DVD on and I'm like, oh, we're in for a treat. Like I haven't watched this in quite a while, but I think we're gonna love this.
Starring John Cusack.
Strangers share a connection. Yeah. So Casey.
Yes.
Going through I started taking plot notes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie.
Then I just stopped because I'm like, I have to just watch this.
Yeah, what's the basic plot of this movie?
The basic plot of this movie is that 10 strangers all wind up through various circumstances involving heavy rain and flooding on all different roads leading out of this one specific area. They are stuck in a motel all together the night that a serial killer on death row is getting moved to a hearing, right?
Yeah.
It's a hearing or something. And yeah, what do you this is such a hard one to crack. Okay. So the thing is watching it again, I still loved this movie, but I'm like, oof, in some ways they kind of just give the twist away, right? Like almost instantly. Like on a
Oh yeah.
rewatch,
So
it's like,
I feel like we're supposed to, so of all the characters in the movie, Ray Liotta plays this cop
yeah,
who's transferring Jake Busey, who is, in handcuffs. He's in the jumpsuit.
who looks
He's a,
nothing like, because they show you pictures of the actual
of the
guy,
guy
right?
in the opening
Yeah,
credits. Yeah, yeah.
right.
And so again, I feel like we're supposed to believe that's what we're cutting back to with Alfred Molina and all the other, attorneys and doctors and police and judge, like in that
Oh,
conference room. I think we're supposed to believe that's what we're like. That's the prisoner being transferred.
right.
But again, I knew right away, and I'm like, well, no, it's not that guy because we've seen this other guy
Yeah.
here. Like I don't know. It's a very. I think
So
it's not the best editing choice in this movie. Where I think
yeah,
that it has so many great editing choices here in the opening of the movie, though, where you set up the mystery of like how all these characters are interconnected and how they all end up
yeah.
at this hotel. I just love the cutting between like John
It
Cusack,
keeps
who's
jumping back.
he's this driver of this actress, and
He
he
hits
runs he runs over John C. McKinley's wife while
while
they're
his
like
son's in the
fixed.
back
Well,
seat.
his son's in the back seat and they're fixing a car, and they show like different like back and forth for when John C. McKinley ends up in the at the hotel with the
Yep.
wife. And I just love the editing of it and how all these characters get interconnected in that way. And it does such a great job of that. But again, I already know that it's not not connected to what's happening over with Alfred Molina. So
Right.
it kind of takes, I don't know, it didn't really take me out of it, but it was like, okay, how are these two going to converge into one story? And how it does is very goofy. I think it's very screenplay, but
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think that's a bad thing. It feels very much like this is a movie.
Yeah. It is. It's just trying to be a pulpy, like it feels like a pulpy, campy kind of action movie.
Yeah.
Or not act like a
thriller.
thriller movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just yeah, in the way it introduces the characters in such like a slapdash way, it kind of instantly throws you off. You don't really know who anyone is, and you don't even like it's a long time before you realize like we don't actually know any of these people's names. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them introduce themselves, but like mostly names are just not a point of contention in this entire movie until they are. And I find it fascinating on like a second watch. Well, not second. I've watched this a couple times over the years, but like it's been a while since I've seen this. And so some of this was all surprising to me, but some of it was like, oh wow, the way that they're like working around these things, but dropping little hints. Like the birthday thing is like foreshadowed in the vending machine talk between Amanda Peet and John Cusack, where she basically is like, "Oh, you're a Libra or whatever
Like
the
me,
zodiac
yeah.
sign is." Yeah. And it's just little things like that that start paying off later, because I remembered a lot of the big reveals, but I didn't remember a lot of the seeds that had been planted. So like as things were popping up in this movie, I was like, oh wow. But in that, I was almost like, God, it's almost like it makes it too obvious. And so I was just kind of wondering where you kind of started figuring things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't figure out like the twist. I guess it's a twist, or the reveal. Maybe that's the better way to put it.
Yeah.
Is that all of these characters are just different identities of this guy that's on death row. He has what was it called?
He has a dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, and he has all these personalities, and all the personalities are the characters in this. And basically, it's like everything's in all this is happening in his head, and he's basically playing out a story in his head with all these characters. Again, that's where it feels very screenplay. It's like, how does that work? How do they have conversations with one another?
Right.
Because we see it later on, like John Cusack's character basically like takes over almost the body.
Yeah.
While they're getting interviewed, and they like Alfred Molina is like, you need to stop it. You're the personality
really
that, yeah, it's so campy and screenplay. And I think it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. And the part I don't like is the final reveal. I think it's a little.
Oh, you don't
goofy.
like that part?
I think it's the goofiest part.
But it's so funny.
I figured out as soon as Ray Liotta showed up, I'm like, you're the bad guy. Because you're Ray Liotta. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, well, he even has that, beyond the fact that it's Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
And he shows up with a criminal.
And they show him like with his jacket off, and he's got blood all over his back. Even before that, I was like, yeah, it's you.
Oh, yeah.
And Kayla was watching it with me too, and she's like, "Oh, they're both the prisoners that got out, and they killed the cop." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he doesn't. The thing is he doesn't actually act like a cop at any point.
No,
it's really funny. I feel like they don't explicitly say this, but John Cusack, I think, figures out pretty quickly that guy is not a cop.
Yeah.
He's like, because he is a former cop.
Or at the very least, he's like, you're a really shitty cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's that's such a fun dynamic. Did you happen to look at the trivia on this one on IMDb?
And a little bit.
Did you see the thing about the interaction with them at the end, their confrontation?
Oh, yeah.
When Cusack shoots him, and you can see them like mouthing lines that aren't audible. Yeah. It's because Mangold thought it gave away the twist too early. I'm like, you gave away so much already.
Yeah.
That's where you drew the line.
Yeah. I would rather have them outright say that line, because then I think the actual ending just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it doesn't it? Because you're still kind of like, well, no, like no one's left.
Yeah.
But I remembered this twist, and I don't know, it's campy and it's cheesy and the line is terrible, but like, my God. Yeah. I can't. Part of me wonders how much I would love this movie if I hadn't watched it when I was 10 before I'd seen like 1,000 other movies. But like, there's something like primal in my brain when like that little kid pops up with the freaking garden tool and he says the line that just goes like, it just like, it blows my mind every time. I'm like, no way, it's the kid. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those movies that my rating would probably be closer to yours. I think we're actually pretty close in rating, but like, I don't know if my rating would be as high if I hadn't have watched this as a impressionable young lad, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like if I had watched this again, like when I watched another 2003 movie, Freddy vs. Jason, like when I was in high school, I would have been like, yeah, this movie rules. Like, you need to watch Identity. I still think it's a really fun movie and highly recommend people watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I can't wait to rewatch this movie. This feels like I always have certain movies where I recommend them to Dakota, like, my friend Dakota.
Yep.
I know you know him, but it's weird saying it on here because he's never going to come on here. But
Well, we should just get him on here for something. We should find some stupid bullshit reason to get Dakota on
yeah,
so that we can just say Dakota because
and then people will
yeah,
associate. Yeah,
people will know.
Well, we have a commercial idea we want to shoot with him, so maybe we'll do that, and that'll be
Yeah,
his cameo on here.
Dakota
Anyway,
will be our mascot.
anyway, I mean, we grew up in all together, and we watch movies together all the time, so we always have recommendations for each other. And I always feel like Cusack movies pop up in each other's like recommending movies to each other. And this feels like one. I haven't asked him yet if he's watched Identity, but this feels like one where I'm like, have you watched Identity? It's got John Cusack, Ray Liotta. You're gonna love it. And I feel like we'll watch this next time he and I do like a movie night again. It just feels like one of those movies. Like, I don't know. It's just a fun movie night movie. And I think both of these movies fall under that because again, I just love watching movies during rainstorms, movies that take place during rainstorms. It's set at this like rundown motel, has twists and turns, has, fun characters that you're following throughout. My favorite reveal in this movie is when Jake Busey gets out and he's running away, and like you see him outside of like where the hotel and the diner is, and the lights are all on out there because they're running around chasing, looking for him, and you see him like turn around and look, and he's like, all right, I'm getting away, and he keeps running, but he finds like this building like out in the middle of nowhere, and he goes inside of it, and it turns out to be like the old diner that's in that area by the hotel. And he's like, wait, why am I here again?
Yeah.
And even I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, it's so trippy, isn't it?
It's super trippy, and I think it's maybe it's my favorite reveal of this movie for sure. I think it's such a good reveal because that part I did not see coming at all, where I'm like, no. It's like a loop and you're all stuck here.
Yeah, see that like to me was like, I agree. That's one of the best parts of the movie. I thought the reveal you were talking about was how he died, which I think is like so gnarly and awesome. So like,
and Jake Busey just gets a baseball bat like shoved down his throat. Again, I was reading the IMDb trivia on that because that one I find hilarious. The trivia on that is that they made like a full body cast of Jake Busey to pull off that effect. And one of the executives of this movie was like, that's so cool. I need that for my office. And he kept it in his office until a cleaning lady showed up, and it scared the shit out of her.
And then they removed it.
Then they're like, all right, you got to get rid of that. You can't keep Jake Busey's full bust in your office. What are you doing? It is now at Gary Busey's house, and he just sits there at his table and talks to it every night.
Yep. 100%. That's exactly what happens.
That's probably what happened.
So we haven't talked about John Hawkes at all, and this is a good time to bring it up because we just talked about Jake Busey getting the baseball bat, and like John Hawkes becomes the number one suspect because the last time we see him, it's his baseball bat. Like he had the bat.
He's supposed to be doing. He's a hotel owner, and he's like playing guard to this serial killer.
The serial killer.
Meanwhile, two cops for some reason run around. It's like, well, one of you stay with the serial killer.
Yeah. See, and here's the thing. This movie is brilliant in the fact that, like, you can pick apart the logic, but it's all going on in one dude's head. So it's like there's no logic involved. And that's kind of the brilliant, like, I don't know, that's how you can kind of write all of this off. And that's why the movie kind of works.
So with him though, I figured out right away that, like, you're not the owner of this place. Like, the owner definitely died, and you're just hanging out here Norman Bates style.
So he plays it so well too. Like John
he's
Hawkes
a ton of fun in this movie. Yeah.
His whole, like, when they find out, it's like, oh, it's not really a surprise. But fortunately, I think the movie knows that. Because the monologue he goes into about how he got there
It's actually kind of sad.
It's sad and so like it's so darkly comic. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Where it's just like, and the capper of it is like they believe him because they're like, that's way too specific to like,
that's so dumb. It has to be true.
right?
Yeah,
Oh my god. It just, yeah, that whole scene where John Hawkes just breaks down like, and it works because it's freaking John Hawkes delivering that. I just, great character actor. Love when I see him pop up and stuff. Yeah.
the other reveals in this, when they find out like, oh, we all have last names of different states and we all had the same birthday. And
Yeah.
again, it feels so screenplay. It, I love it though. I think it's so much fun. It's so campy. It's perfect for like a mystery thriller, like this movie is, like a whodunit. I think it just fits right in
Yep.
that vibe. And yeah, it's hokey, but it's like, again, it takes place all in this guy's head. There's no logic you can really put to it, and it makes sense like when you figure out why they all have the same birthday, because it's just the birthday of like
The
I guess
killer.
the
The
killer,
host.
the host, I guess is probably the best way to put it. And then he
Yeah.
just names all of these other personalities after states.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, all that stuff makes sense.
Yep.
We haven't talked though, like why we're going through why we're going through this scenario. It's that basically he's on death row, and Alfred Molina's like, no, you need to convince these people that it's only one personality that killed all these people. And if
Yeah.
and if your John Cusack personality comes out and kills your Ray Liotta one, you're gonna get off. Well, you're not gonna get the death sentence. You're still gonna go to like prison and you know try to reform yourself. But it's like you need to have your one good personality kill the evil one. It's like I don't know if that's how that works.
Hearing you describe that was a headache. And here's my counteraction
That's
to
literally
that.
what the movie is,
Oh, I
though. That's
know.
what the
I
movie's
know.
telling us.
100% you're not wrong. It is so dumb because there's no quantifiable fact to anything that Alfred Molina is spouting, right? Like
No,
even the actual like dissociative identity disorder, not the same
yeah,
as what is
no,
portrayed in this movie at all.
it's a completely
So,
different disorder. Multiple
so
personality. Yeah,
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 and it's just like the reason that this all works even remotely is because they hired Alfred freaking Molina to
he plays
deliver
it
it.
so straight.
He does, and it's so funny. It just ups the camp factor because he's approaching this like it's Oscar worthy,
Yeah,
and it's incredible. Like
uh,
if you need someone to sell something absolutely stupid, you have to get someone like Alfred Molina.
yeah,
It's the reason Doc Ock works so well in Spider-Man 2. You know?
yep. Also want to give a shout out to is it Pruitt Taylor Vince, who plays Malcolm. He's
Oh,
the host, I guess.
yes.
He's so great, and like it's a relatively small role for like being, I guess, the main character where everything's taking place in his head. But he's so great in this.
Yeah.
Like again, he's playing it straight. He's playing it. Uh, yeah, he's not playing it as a goofy thing of like all these personalities are in his head. He's playing it pretty straight of like a sick individual who needs help and has all these personalities and like is switching between them at different points. And yeah, he does a great job in this. And I
Yeah.
think maybe that's what makes this movie work, is that it's such a weird and goofy concept, but everyone is playing it straight,
Yep.
that it just works. Everything just kind of melds together in a perfect way.
Yeah. I agree. I just even like I'd say the one that verges on like no, he's knowingly trying to be like campy and funny is John C. McGinley. But even then,
Yeah, I
but even
guess.
then, he's still kind of bringing a lot of gravitas to this, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing in this movie.
I don't know. He
has
his
a
is
very
the
weird,
weirdest performance.
very weird. He has a weird character quirk where
Yeah.
he feels like an M. Night Shyamalan character.
Oh my God, he really does. He
Now
really does.
I want to see him and Shyamalan work together. I think he'd be perfect in an M. Night movie. But yeah, he's
Oh
very,
yeah.
very weird in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's
Yeah.
playing it like wink, wink, nod, nod to the audience, but more so like he's playing to like an 11.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
he's kind of he's the wimpy stepdad version of Carla Gugino's wicked stepmother and Lisa Frankenstein. Just like opposite ends of that spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, the final reveal, not for me. I didn't love it. I would have.
No.
I think there's a better way you could do it besides little Timmy being the killer.
You didn't love the CGI explosion while the clear like stunt double with the face with the face transplant walked away.
Yeah, no.
Uh
what is his line at the end? Little Timmy's line.
Horrors don't get a second chance.
Yeah. Also, I don't understand
so
that.
Stupid.
Like what? Where did that come from? Besides the hotel manager saying, like, asking her if she was, you know.
Well, when we first meet Amanda Pete's character, Paris, she is in bed with a man. He's handcuffed to the bed. I think she takes money or something.
Yeah.
So like,
she could just be stealing some dude's money. Like, why would anyone else know that though?
See, that's one of those things where like it kind of makes sense when like I don't know, because maybe like he just knows because they're technically part. I don't know,
because they're all part of the same. I guess they're all part. Of the
guess
same, whatever.
But like, yeah, it just I don't know. It seems a little. It does seem strange. I don't necessarily like all of the. I mean, frankly, the slut shaming in this movie, but like, it's. I don't know. I think Amanda Peet is actually really good in this.
She is really good in this.
She's like kind of the unsung hero of it, and it makes her death at the end sting all the more.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but
well, maybe not because technically they're not even real people.
They're not even real people. I don't know. I guess they are real people. Like her personality.
This movie is wild.
I don't know.
I love this movie.
How many wooden baseball bats down Jake Busey's throat are you giving this movie?
I gave this one a full 4.
4 nostalgia bump. Yeah, I gave it 3.5. So like we're not far off. Yeah,
we're not far. Yeah, I really love this movie. It was an extremely nostalgic watch. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Highly recommend this movie. I think these movies played so well together, and if you're looking for a rainy day double feature, I think we did all right.
Yeah, this is solid.
Yeah,
solid 2 movies.
Solid 2 movies. People out there listening to this podcast, wherever you're listening to it, please either drop a comment or I don't know how else you do it on Spotify. Just hit us up on social media, I guess. Let us know your thoughts on both of these movies. Or if you haven't seen them, let us know if you're going to check them out. But Sam, what do we got next on the run sheet for this episode?
Well, we have some Screamin' Mad news.
Yes, we do.
We have some Screamin' Mad Hollywood news, and we have some Screamin' Mad Here news. Which one should we start with?
Ooh, should we keep the people waiting?
We should keep the people waiting. Yeah.
No, let's tell them. Let's tell them.
Let's tell them.
Let's tell them right now.
Casey.
Yeah.
We had to announce that Felissa Rose not going to be able to come to SuperCon. She's filming something cool.
Yep. Joe Bob's Mangle Dick expert is not coming to SuperCon this year, unfortunately. Hopefully, she'll be able to come back in the future. But yeah, she's shooting something that same weekend. So unfortunately, she did have to pull out of the convention for this year.
Yep. But we had a spot open up for a different guest, and we have someone really exciting coming to SuperCon.
Yeah, we do, because this one's super exciting.
From Casey's favorite franchise?
Yes,
Yes.
not this one, not this
Not that
franchise
one.
on my shirt, not the one on my shirt, not Nightmare on Elm Street. My favorite franchise, the one that I think is the greatest of all time in terms of horror. We've done episodes on it before. This is the Evil Dead franchise. No, we didn't get Bruce Campbell, guys. Settle down. But we got someone from the incredible Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series. We got the one, the only, Dana DiLorenzo Kelly from Ash vs. Evil Dead. She is going to be at SuperCon September 27th through the 29th, 2024, right here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at the Sioux Falls Convention Center. Again, Dana DiLorenzo Kelly from Ash vs. Evil Dead is going to be here in person for SuperCon. We are so excited to have her. I've heard she is just a riot at conventions, which I think is perfect to have as a replacement for Felissa, who I've also heard is a riot at conventions. So I feel like we got another rock star to come to these. She's also buddies with our buddy Nick Simon. So we're very excited to have both of them there. Spoilers. Nick Simon's coming back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nick Simon's coming.
Oh, yay.
Hey. He's always back. We love Nick.
He's back every year. We got to get him on the show before then.
Yes.
We definitely got to do that. But again, Dana DiLorenzo coming to SuperCon this fall.
Yeah. Dana DiLorenzo.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Obviously.
This is great. Ash vs. Evil Dead is amazing.
It is. I can't wait to rewatch the show because of this.
Yeah. Yep. I just bought the DVDs, so I only made it through the first season before it bumped off Netflix.
Yeah.
And so I have 2 seasons that I still need to catch up on, but I love that. I love the first season, so.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's what you've been gushing about with Chucky was me when Ash vs. Evil Dead was on.
Hell yeah. That makes me very excited.
Yeah. So again, that's probably our last announcement for guests for SuperCon.
Yeah, for horror, anyways.
Yeah, for horror, at least for us announcing stuff. But
yes.
Again, I mean, we got some more cool stuff on the way for SuperCon and all the other cool things that we got going on. But Sam, we can talk about those during the plugs. What's the big Hollywood news for the week?
We got some incredible Hollywood news, guys. Mike Flanagan.
Mikey.
Is writing and directing a new Exorcist movie. It is not a sequel to Exorcist Believer.
Exorcist Golden Retriever.
Yes. Oh, God. He could make a Golden Retriever Exorcist movie, and it'd probably be perfect.
I think we should make
a Golden Retriever Exorcist movie?
Yeah, and it's Air Bud, but he's an exorcist.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's pitch it to Mike. Maybe he'll bite.
Yeah. He's got Exorcist money now.
Mike, hear us out. If you ever watched Air Bud, now have you ever seen a Golden Retriever exorcise someone? Get out. Get out of my office. No, Mike Flanagan. He's doing a brand new movie in the Exorcist franchise. And again, This is not a sequel to Exorcist Believer. That trilogy is just not happening anymore. The David Gordon Green version. I hate saying this, but yay for horror movies not happening because I'd rather have this one here. And again, Mike Flanagan has said many times that The Exorcist is his favorite horror movie. The reason he's into horror movies. The Shining was another one and knocked it out of the park with Dr. Sleep. So I cannot wait to see what Mike does with The Exorcist.
Absolutely. Casey, have you watched Midnight Mass?
No, I'm so behind on his TV show.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd rather have 2 hours than 10 hours.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get that, but I have a feeling once you start Midnight Mass, you're gonna.
Yeah, I know.
You're gonna plow through it.
Hill House is one of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Religious horror, or at least horror with religious iconography. He's gonna nail this.
Yeah.
He's gonna nail it.
Well, all of his supernatural stuff, even looking at him doing Ouija,
Origin of
Evil, taking over a franchise there, and it's you can't even compare the two movies because of that's probably his weakest movie, and I'm still
it's still like
that's a damn good studio horror movie.
It's like a fucking 4-star movie.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's his worst one.
Yeah.
Yeah, try harder next time, Mike. Yeah.
So the fact that he took a franchise, he made a sequel prequel to a movie with like a single digit tomato meter.
Yeah.
And he made
look at Dr. Sleep. He made a sequel to the novel to...
Oh, God, yeah. He bridged Kubrick's vision with King's and
with King's, and made an adaptation
of a novel that's not even one of King's strongest novels.
An impossible task. And I think he's going to lean into The Exorcist 3 more than the original Exorcist is what I'm hoping, because you look at Exorcist 3 where it's like, yeah, it's still in that universe, but it's like, that's a completely different movie and it's away from Reagan. And I hope that's where we go with this, because that's not The Exorcist. Like, that's The Exorcist, the first movie. It's not what a sequel needs to be.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like legacy. Like, they've had their possession. Let them be, you know?
Let Reagan be happy.
Why would you want to cut Ellen Burstyn's eyes out? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Spoilers for The Exorcist Believer. Just not a great movie.
What an awful movie. Anyway. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited for that.
Anyways, Mike Flanagan, yay!
Yay! Sam, what else? What do we got next on the show? Trying to get us out of this, like, stabbing Ellen Burstyn in the eyes.
Yeah. Sorry, I brought dark moment. Casey, what have you been doing?
Watching Exorcist Believer, where an old lady gets her eyes gouged out.
Full disclosure, I do have an Exorcist Believer poster. And it's just because I had such a fun time watching that with you and Chandra at the Coyote Twin.
Yeah, we should burn that sometime
for TikTok.
Yeah, no, we'll give the poster an exorcism.
I was gonna hang it up, and I hung it up when we were doing all of this decorating stuff, and Maria vibes with a lot of my horror posters, and she lets me put up a lot. She's like, I gotta ixnay that one.
It's the two girls.
Yeah, it's right? It is freaky. It's pretty unpleasant to look at. So,
so what I've been doing lately, I only have two things on here. Both of these are on yours as well. So we both
I talked about one of them on the last
And you talked about one of them on the last episode. It just so happened that Mr. Joe Bob Briggs on the last drive-in played Graduation Day, the movie you talked about last time on the show. He was doing a, graduation-themed episode, which I'm loving that he's doing, like, these themed episodes this season. And graduation time is a perfect time to throw in a themed episode of The Last Drive-In. I had never seen Graduation Day. I knew of it. I guess I don't know if legacy is the right word, but like I knew of it being like the quote unquote holiday slasher subgenre of slashers. I had a ton of fun watching this movie. It's the perfect Joe Bob movie where it's just like, yeah, we can intercut this movie with Joe Bob talking about graduations and whatever the hell else he was talking about in this episode. He gave Darcy a graduation ceremony during the episode. But the movie itself, it's a fun slasher. It's a fun, like, 3-star slasher movie. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. There's some fun kills. There's a really fun one with, like, a sword and a football. It's really goofy. It's a fun slasher movie. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again, but I had a good time watching it with Joe Bob.
Yeah, I've watched this movie twice, and actually it was like less than a week. I think it was like 5 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a good movie. I don't know if I'll watch it again for a very long time, but I could see myself like 10 years down the road being like, I should watch this again. This was fun. So, I don't know. Yeah.
The next one that I have, my last one, is a brand new release that we went out to the theaters for.
Oh, no.
We paid money for this. It is The Strangers, Chapter 1. The first of 3 chapters in this new Strangers trilogy from Renny Harlin. I literally forgot we watched this movie. This movie is just so forgettable. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just a utterly pointless and forgettable movie.
And it's already available for streaming on Max.
Is it
Well,
really?
the 2008 one is. So it's basically
Yeah. I mean, just go watch the original Strangers again. It is literally the exact same movie. All you're missing is a like mid-credit scene that's like, who cares?
Also,
Mid-credit scene.
100% don't think that's not a dream. Like, I not for a second did I think, oh, that's real.
Oh, no
like,
way!
That's a dream. That's a dream.
No way. The sequel opens with that scene. No.
Yeah. It's just what?
Yeah.
So
it's a pointless movie. All it does is retell the original Strangers, so it can set up the other two sequels. And it's like, why didn't you just do something new and different with this one, and then do sequels if it does well? Like, again,
Yeah.
I know they shot all of them at the same time, but I'll still watch the other ones, I guess, because I love Strangers Prey at Night, and I feel like we can maybe get there with the sequels on doing something different.
I hope so.
Who
I hope
knows?
this one's just like the stumble out the gate, and then Rennie knocks the next two out of the park.
Yeah,
Because like it's Rennie Harlan. There's never a time when I'm rooting against a a Rennie Harlan movie. You know,
no.
like I love that dude.
I like Rennie Harlan as a director. He, like James Mangold, doesn't really make the same movie twice. Again, he just makes somebody else's movie twice, but he doesn't make the same movie twice himself, because like
Right.
you look at his filmography, it's so different and weird. But he's definitely a journeyman director, of a like director for hire
Yeah.
type of director, where that was not the right term for Mangold. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I would honestly like if you want to check this one out, wait until it hits a streaming service that you have.
Or like you
Like,
said, watch the 2008
yeah.
version.
Just you know, it is. It's the same movie, and then it says to be continued. So it's just the same movie with a to be continued tag.
Yeah.
They should have just started with making the second one. They should have just been like, look, Liv Tyler is now Metal and Pitch, and let's just move on.
Yeah. Do a recasting.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, anyways, it was fine. Check it out if you want to when it hits streaming, but I wouldn't necessarily. They already shot the other two, so they're going to release them.
Yeah. I would guess like October is probably when they'll release part 2.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere in that like September, October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stan, what about you? What else have you been doobie doing?
Well, I forgot to talk about this last week or
Gear
2
up,
weeks
folks.
ago.
This is a big one.
This is a big one. Pretty Little Liars Summer School, the second season to Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. It's hard for me to say I love this show because it's not very good, but oh my God, I love it. I know that's an oxymoron, but yeah, sometimes when you just need like a Taco Bell show that's like there's no calories in this whatsoever, but like, oh, it's so campy and fun and like kind of funny in how like just cheesy it is at times.
You mean it's only calories and it's not good for you?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. Only you just need the calories of a donut shoved into your face. That's what this is. This is donut television, Casey.
Yep.
And I love it. It's a good donut.
Donut watch television. Yeah.
It's a donut watch television. But the thing is it's one of those donut television ones where they release them week after week. So you're only getting like one donut a week. And so it's just kind of like, well, I had a donut last week. I might as well have the next donut.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I think if they put this all out all at once, I probably would have watched like 1 or 2 episodes and stopped. So the weekly release is really working for this show, is what I'll say. But also there's some really cool stuff in this. The killer in this season, incredible design. Bloody Rose Waters. It's like a woman in like this ratty like housewife dress and a knife, and she's got all these like bandages around her face that are all bloody, and there's like one eye poking out, and it's just gnarly. And yeah, she's that way because like her son skinned her face off. It's crazy, dude. But it's also like by the same people that did like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and Riverdale. So just take from that what you will. Like I actually enjoy all of those shows, even though they're, you know, what they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they're your type of thing, I would really actually recommend Pretty Little Liars Summer School. I've been having some fun with it. Casey, I did not get this watched before the last episode, but you did, and you talked on it. I think I like this a little bit more than what you did. I watched Infested, the French spider movie.
Yeah.
So I was a little concerned going into this one because I'd heard a lot of people compare it to like Attack the Block, and I kind of get that comparison, but I was like, I on the whole was not super enamored with Attack the Block. And Infested, I was thinking about this one for a couple days afterwards. I really liked this. I thought it was very stylish. I loved the building that they shot in. The building that they shot this movie in is insane. And that was a real building because I listened to the Movie Crypt, their interview with Sebastian Vanacek. Can't wait to see what this guy does with an Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved Infested. It does get a little hairy at the end. Like the very end is kind of like I get what they were going for, but I'm not necessarily sure it all like works cinematically. I think it kind of loses a little bit of steam. But yeah, otherwise I had a friggin' blast with this. I also watched Godzilla Kong: The New Empire.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. I have actually watched this twice in between the last two episodes because I watched it and then I told Maria, I was like, you've got to watch this. And so I watched it a second time with her. She loved it. She said it's her favorite MonsterVerse one. To me, that's still Kong Skull Island, but this is a pretty close second.
Yeah, this is definitely my second favorite.
Yeah. I enjoyed every bit of this. Dan Stevens is just incredible in this. I really, really enjoyed that. I then did kind of a Dan Stevens double feature, and I watched Abigail, and this is, I wouldn't say we necessarily disagreed on Renfield, but I think I was maybe a little more down on that one than you were. But I know we've disagreed on the last two Dracula movies because I really loved Abigail. This is another one that I just had a blast with start to finish. This is another one where Dan Stevens is giving just, in my opinion, an incredible performance. The whole cast is actually doing really good with like basic stock characters. Like, I will give you that the script is kind of bare bones. Like, there's not a lot going for it. I think this is a movie that is elevated by its cast. And I just had so much fun with that cast that for me, it just carried me through this movie just very easily. I think Kevin Durand pretty much runs away with this. He's so funny as the big dumb himbo. And yeah, I don't know. I know the third act went to some weird places, but I was along for the ride. I enjoyed it.
Did you feel like there's a better reveal in the third act?
What do you mean? There is like a kind of almost just like a tag sequence at the end of it. There's like a final reveal. You know what I'm talking about? Where
like
I was like,
the girl's dad is.
Yes. And I was like, I could have done away with all of that. Like that didn't need to happen.
It was so underwhelming.
It was weird. It was a little weird. Yeah.
That's where I feel like, hey, we could have connected our new universal universes together, and well, everybody knows what the plot is of this movie. Like they know it's Dracula's daughter. But like, I guess spoilers that Nicolas Cage doesn't show up, and I'm like, man, you guys could have had such a cool reveal if you had Nicolas Cage show up.
Yeah, I agree with that. And here's the thing: I like Matthew Good as an actor. Like
Yeah, I
every
do
time
too.
he
But it's
pops
like
up in things,
I don't know this Dracula, and it felt like there was supposed to be a big reveal of like it was
yeah, and
just
it's like
it was
he's
that
a
he was
guy in a
Dracula.
suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But yeah, so there's a tag at the end of this movie that I didn't care for very much, but other than that, I kind of had a blast with it. So, um, yeah, yeah. Uh, we already talked about Graduation Day and The Strangers. Oh yeah, since I missed this episode, because we were at Terror 29 this night, I we didn't have a new Joe Bob episode one on one of these Fridays, and so I decided to throw on his Death Spa episode, and I'll tell you what, you should go watch the Death Spa episode of Joe Bob because it's one of my favorite, like the Last Drive-In episodes regarding Joe Bob and Darcy and their presentation. The movie's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got some gnarly effects at the end, but like it's weird and it just like doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in any way. And like I'll give it the third act just goes hard and there's a lot of really fun scenes, but like it's kind of like after a whole bunch of just what is this? And Joe Bob's assessment of it is basically that too. So, you know, it's a really fun episode. It's a really self-aware episode. And yeah, Joe Bob looks ridiculous throughout the whole thing. So it's great. It's highly recommend the Death Spa episode of The Last Drive-In. You know, if you're an 80s fanatic, you should maybe watch Death Spa, but if 80s slashers aren't your thing, I'd skip it. So that's what I've been doing.
Whoa.
Yeah,
All right. That's
that
it.
feels like a lot though.
That feels like a lot, but we had some crossover in there and stuff
Yeah,
that we talked about on previous episodes. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got injured one day and got a day to just watch movies.
Yeah.
That's why it's so much.
Yeah. So let's get into some of our plugs here for the show. If people want to catch up on some episodes, we have some ones that we should shout out here. We have a couple interviews up for the month of May that is now passed. If you want to go back and check out some of those previous interviews. Last week we had Doug Morano on the show talking about Bad Hand Books and everything they got coming up for the rest of 2024. Some really awesome things going on over there. Yeah, it was such a great conversation just about the process of how things work over there at Bad Hand and the creative, aspect of working and collaborating together. It was such a great episode. So go check that one out. We also had Mark Torgel on a few weeks ago. The OG Toxic Avenger, Melvin the Mop Boy from the original Toxic Avenger, talking about the 40th anniversary of the movie. Mark was so great to have on, gave us some awesome insights on the movie. Such a breezy conversation that we had with him. So go check that one out as well. Sam, what do they got to look forward here for the rest of the month of June?
You'd think
I just put you on the spot. I know.
No, I was like trying to search it up and then I got sidetracked and okay, I got it. Dropping next Friday.
Yeah.
We have an interview with the directors and cast of the movie The Great Nick D. It's not really a horror movie, but it does feature the cast of the original Dark Shadows, and it is co-directed by friend of the show, Ansel Faraj, with oh my gosh, Casey, save me on this.
Nate Wilson.
Wilson.
The creative team behind Todd Tarantula, which was our first interview we ever did on this show, Screams from the Basement. We did it with those two. And again, we brought them back, and we also had some of the cast along for the ride as well. And that interview is not only going to be featured on this podcast feed, on this YouTube channel, it is also featured on the Blu-ray for The Great Nick D, which is the only way you can watch this movie is on Blu-ray. So go purchase those right now on Amazon. and then you can watch the movie and then sit down with us with the cast and crew of the movie and hear our about an hour-long conversation that we had with them. And it was great, great interview, hearing about just how to make, basically like how to make an indie film.
Yeah.
It's really what it was. And bringing in, I mean, it has a huge cast in this movie, and it's a feat, and the movie's incredible. We loved it. It's one of my favorites.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. And I hope more people go out and watch this movie, because I feel like it's going to be the underseen movie of 2024, but we're going to sing the praises for it. So that's The Great Nick D.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Go order that Blu-ray, people.
If you like beach bum comedies, this one is for you.
It's a great one. Yeah,
it really is.
It's better than a lot of the like Hollywood beach bum movies that they're coming out.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Then the next full episode that you guys will get this month, we are doing another one of Casey's favorite franchises.
Yeah.
We are doing a double feature of the original A Nightmare on Elm Street, directed by Wes Craven.
Whoop, whoop.
And then personal favorite of Sam's, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun double feature. This is not the first big slasher that we have. This is like the third. Never mind. I was like, God, this is the first like franchise one we've done, which...
No, we've touched on a lot of them. This is the
we
first
actually
Freddy.
have.
This is our first Freddy.
This is our first Freddy. So, and then we are closing out the month with an interview with author Joshua Milliken about his new book. I'm sorry, I'm reading off of this, but like I'm realizing realizing I didn't know exactly how to say the name. He has a new book out, Teleportasm. Which Casey and I have in our inboxes. We are going to be reading that, and I'm very excited. It sounds,
Josh
it sounds wild.
He's done writing for a very long time in the horror sphere. You've probably read his work on Dread Central, because that's where I know him from. So you've definitely have seen his work out there. And yeah, we're doing an interview with him at the end of the month. But speaking of things at the end of the month, as we're doing our plugs here, for people out there who are in the Lincoln, Nebraska area, or if they want to make the trip out to Lincoln, Nebraska, we have a really cool event coming up on Saturday, June 29th, Saturday of Screams at the Joyo Theater in Lincoln, Nebraska. I believe this is at 2 p.m. in the afternoon that we're kicking things off. We have a double feature coming up on Saturday of Screams. Sam, what is that double feature?
We will be watching the movie Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, featuring Mark Patton of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and another sequel, Reunion from Hell 2, which is a sequel to Reunion from Hell.
Yep. And features many cast members from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, including
Mark Patton.
Yes, and guess who will be there in person? Mark Patton will be there doing a Q&A. He'll be doing a signing, taking photos, doing autographs, that whole shebang. So again, that's June 29th at the Joyo Theater in Lincoln, Nebraska. Tickets are available at the door, only $10 tickets at the door for that. And again, after the screening of both of those, we are going to be doing a Q&A afterwards with Mark Patton talking about Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, and Reunion from Hell 2. And we're going to have the director from Reunion from Hell 2, Hayden Newman, there as well, doing a Q&A. So me and Sam are very excited to partner with Moose on this, from Moose's Monster Mash, doing this event in the Nebraska area. So yeah, again, if you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, go check that out. We'll put a little link in the description of this episode for that.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's going to be so much fun. We are... we're pretty freaking stoked. Mark Patton is, he's seminal.
Yeah. He's Jesse from Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
He's fucking Jesse, man. Like, this is, I don't know. I'm getting giddy just thinking about it.
Yeah. Sam, if people are getting giddy about this show, where can they follow us online and keep up with everything that we're doing?
Well, you can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We're posting on all of them. We are posting different stuff on all of them. So follow us on all of them because
Yeah.
you're going to get something different out of every single one. And that's only partially because I have ADHD.
Only partially.
Only partially. Yeah. So follow us there. Subscribe on Apple and Spotify and Google, wherever you get your podcasts. You can check out the show with video on YouTube. We're still posting there, even though, should we kind of announce it that we're not going live anymore?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're not going live anymore.
We're not going live anymore. We had some viewers, but the show isn't really designed for like live audience interaction.
Yeah, it's you and I talking to each other. So,
right.
Yeah, we're just having it. So everything drops every Friday. Keep it streamlined that way. So if you're subscribed to us on any of those platforms, you're going to find us on Fridays.
Yep. And that's it. That's the show.
I think that's it. Sam, there's one more thing we haven't brought up yet, and I just can't let us go play our outro music to the PFPN without talking about this.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, there's some beef going on.
There's beef. I got called out.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about Phantom of the Paradise's beef.
No, that's cool.
Talking about grade A ground beef hamburger. What's going on, Sam?
Look, man, I'm a vegan. I don't like this beef.
You can't have any of this. I don't eat beef.
Can't have any of this.
We can't have this on the show.
We've been officially called out by Mike Saunders of Attack of the Killer podcast for not having him on our show because.
Hey, for that, I apologize.
I do apologize.
We need to have Insane Mike on this show. Mike, if you're listening, you are going to get a message to come on our show.
Pretty soon, actually. So,
but I feel more called out. Like Jason called us out for not having Mike on the show.
Yeah,
and listen, we've had Jason on previous shows of ours. Yeah, Tad has been on multiple times on shows of ours. Here's the deal: I've been on their show once. Sam has never been on their show.
I have never been on their show.
So I think we're talking tit for tat here. I think not tit for tat, tit for tat. We're talking a swap, a host swap. I think we need Sam on Attack of the Killer podcast with a pitch that he pitched to Tad. I'll let you guys over there on Attack of the Killer podcast ask Tad what movie Sam pitched. But
you guys are gonna love me.
You guys are gonna never invite him back after that. But we need Sam on at least once, and Mike will be on our show. More than once. We're going to have Mike on multiple times, but for sure we got to get him on at least once on this show to talk about some movies. So yeah, we need to do a little swap. We got to squash the beef before the beef. We got to squash the beef before that beef even starts going. I don't know what the correct terminology would be. I'm not great at these metaphors for the beef.
Casey, there's one thing I'm not going to apologize for that I got called out for, and it was for not following instructions because I make my own rules. So,
I don't know what instructions are you talking about?
Well, on call-outs, I got called out because shout-outs. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, it should have been called call-outs last time. So, I might have said my favorite Corman directed movie and then proceeded to list a bunch of them that he produced that I liked. And they only asked for the directed ones. And I knew that. I just also can't help but not recommend Chopping Mall
anytime you get a mention Chopping Mall, you're going
I have to. So I play by my own rules and I'm not going to apologize for it. Yeah.
Sam Lenz, ladies and gentlemen, plays by his own rules and he's not going to apologize for it.
All right. Casey, do you want to hit the sign off this time?
Yeah, I can hit the sign off this time. This is all in good fun. I hope people know.
We love you guys.
we love those guys. We love you. We love you all. So no real beef here. It's just
no real beef.
It's literally like, oh no, we do need to get Mike on the show.
Yeah, we really do.
So Mike, check your inbox. It's probably already happened. Anyway, Sam, I think that's it. Let's wrap this rainy day episode up. Let's hit that sign off and let's give a shout out to our friends at the PFPN. That's where you can find our show, Screams from the Basement, with Sam and Casey, and you can find Attack of the Killer podcast. Sam, give us that sign off.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and sweet screams.
Wow.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.